Hello, everybody. Welcome to Housing Bubble 2.0 News of the Week, or as I like to call it, another episode of As the Housing Market Turns. Today is the 31st of August, the end of the month. We're going to talk about zombie foreclosures today. I'm Randy Patrick, your host, putting the realism back in real estate. So, and by the way, if you're not already a subscriber, if you could help my channel grow and hit that subscribe button, I'd really appreciate that. Again, stuff's changing in the marketplace right now, and we're in the middle of a pandemic. We have some, property values increasing. We have low inventory, a lot of stuff going on. But what's not happening in the marketplace is foreclosures because of some of the moratoriums nationally and at the state level that have sort of, I guess you say, stagnated that process. Now, this is actually good for people who are suffering and are in forbearance plans and things like that. So, or if they've also had, foreclosures that were scheduled to go to sale that haven't actually been sold yet. So people are benefiting, which is a good thing, I suppose. The government doesn't want people entering the marketplace or going homeless when the pandemic is going on. So it all kind of makes sense. But what we see, though, is that there will be some movement and sort of, I guess you could say, the zombie foreclosure volumes are slowly starting to pick up now, which we're going to get into right now. Okay, guys. Oh, and by the way, if you're watching today, I'm actually going to host a Facebook Live event tonight, and those are usually run a couple hours. Why do I do on Facebook? Because I don't want to do them on YouTube, to be honest with you. A little more control with Facebook. But also, it's usually either 90 minutes to 2 hours. So that's why it's easier for me to manage, etc., and deal with all the software when it's on Facebook. So it's Housing Bubble 2 is the Facebook page. I also have other pages that link in as well, too. So that's why I do it in that medium. I'm going to talk about mortgage delinquencies and the housing crash. I've got some really great information on some recent, I guess you could say, releases of mortgage delinquencies and the volume in about 150 metros. So you're going to be surprised. I was actually shocked when I saw this. So again, you're welcome to join that 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific. All right, so that'll be tonight on the Facebook channel. Okay, let's get to this right now. So basically, we are going to talk about zombie foreclosures. All right. So if you take a look at it, obviously you see these properties out in the field. They look like they're vacant, abandoned, kind of beat up. Are they zombie foreclosures or not? Well, I guess we're going to have to find out. So really, just for today's topic, I want to lay this out right now. When we refer to zombie foreclosures, there's essentially two types of foreclosures as far as I'm concerned in this zombie realm. All right. There's pre-foreclosure or foreclosed/REO. So if you're driving around town, and you see a vacant or abandoned property, grass and landscaping overgrown, garbage cans knocked over, papers and newspapers, flyers over the front driveway, front door, some stickers. That's typically going to be a zombie property. It's vacant, it's been abandoned, but they can fall into two categories. All right. So the pre-foreclosure is they are in the foreclosure process. So the foreclosure process is sort of moving through. They're moving through the system, but the home is still owned and titled with the homeowner's name. So that's an available deal if people want to jump on it. The foreclosed REO, we'll call it zombie properties, are homes that have gone through the entire foreclosure process, have been foreclosed on, excuse me, and are typically now owned by the bank, lender, servicing company, whatever. So, and at that point in time, they just haven't, maybe secured it yet, or haven't done a cleanup, or haven't had a chance to put it back on the market where everyday folks like you and I could possibly purchase it. So that's your two sort of, I guess you could say, to me, there's two types of zombie foreclosures: the pre-foreclosure kind and the foreclosed on kind. The pre-foreclosure kind are more of the opportunities for us. All right, so this came out in National Mortgage News other day. Zombie foreclosures grow, raising a red flag for market watchers. And again, when you take a look at the data, because of the moratorium and everything's kind of slowing down, we're seeing a slow rise in, I guess you could say, these zombie properties. So for me, it's typically people are going, okay, they're going to foreclose on me, so I'm leaving now. I'm getting out of Dodge. I don't, I've got other accommodations. I don't need to be in this property anymore. That's why, that's why we have zombie foreclosure properties. As foreclosure volume increases, proportionately volume of zombie properties increase. But as I mentioned, because of some of these moratoriums that are going on right now with the foreclosure market, where people can just stay in their home. So if you had a foreclosure sale date, between April to today, typically it may have been canceled or postponed. So you've bought yourself some extra time. Why would you leave that home? I don't, unless you've got other accommodations or just wanted to move out because it's stressing you out, you want to move on, etc., which is fine. So just realize that these will grow when the foreclosure moratoriums get lifted down the road here. All right. So when we take a look at this a little deeper here, it basically is, they don't represent a heck of a lot of homes. One in every 12,000 U.S. residential properties. They call it like a little spot on the radar in most parts of the U.S. But the latest numbers do throw a small potential red flag into the air, given the increase in percentage of zombie foreclosures. So they're going to rise, and as I said, maybe these are rising a little more because people are just going, okay, I'm in limbo here, I'm bolting, I'm taking off. The typical, and we'll get to this in a couple more slides here, but the typical locations that have the most zombie properties are going to be the state of New York, Florida, Illinois, Ohio, Indiana, Kansas, Ohio, Rhode Island. So basically, the usual suspects are there with respect to the states. A lot of it is because of just sheer volume, or maybe what's going on from an economic perspective in these states. All right. So now something else I haven't spoken about yet, but this past week, the FHFA, Federal Housing Finance Administration, announced that the GSEs, which are Fannie and Freddie, would extend the moratorium period on foreclosures and evictions to the end of 2020, which will make the actual number of homes in distress harder to track, which is a very good point because, they've got some statistics, with respect to what's going on with these zombie properties. But if you think about it, and I guess this is how it works. When you're in a foreclosure situation, you haven't paid your mortgage, the lender, servicing company, bank, whoever holds your mortgage or servicing your mortgage, they're going to send either a real estate agent out to look at the property, do what's called a drive-by, take some pictures, report back, or they're going to send out some sort of management company, securitization company, and they're basically going to say, okay, they're not paying the mortgage. Is our asset exposed? So in other words, is it occupied, which means someone's living there, which hopefully they're going to still take care of the property and live. If it's vacant, then that means we'll need to secure it because it's exposure to vandalism, squatting, the whole bit. So I can tell you that it's probably tough because it's one of those things where when they drive by and check it out 1 month, hey, it's vacant. Sorry, it's occupied. When they come by 2 months later, it's unoccupied. So it's kind of like this rolling, I guess you could say, tally, which is probably difficult to manage at best. Vacant properties can contribute to neighborhood blight and become safety hazards, especially during the pandemic. The sooner these abandoned properties can be processed and sold to home buyers or investors, the better it'll be for communities and neighborhoods across the country, which we all agree upon that. So the key, though, is that getting your hands on these, which, that's part of the process I'm going to talk about today. Now, vacant property rate in the third quarter. I don't know if you can see this. This is from Adam Data Solutions, or at least from the data from Adam Data Solutions. Your light blue states are the ones with the most vacant properties. And these are just vacants overall. These could be second homes, vacation homes. People have left, people who have passed away in probate and they haven't been dealt with yet, etc. So, you're going to see places like, Florida having a good number, but it looks like you've got Indiana at 8.5%, seems to have the most vacants. Ohio up there, Minnesota up there. Looks like that's Kansas is up there, Mississippi's up there. So some of the states that have some issues, like I'd say Mississippi with higher foreclosure rates, doesn't surprise me. They have a lot of vacants. Indiana, I'm assuming it's probably because of the economy up there and some cities not doing well in the Rust Belt. manufacturing belts. So Ohio, we know there's a number of locations throughout the state of Ohio that have issues. Florida, Alabama. So I mean, to me, this doesn't surprise me. Clearly, there are locations that have very few. Rhode Island's up there to 6.3%, and there are locations that have very few of these zombie foreclosure homes. So it depends on where you live, I guess. But ultimately, in the end, we're going to go into it now. Here's more homes in the U.S. fall into vacant zombie foreclosure around the third quarter of 2020. So, this is they do their analysis. This is Adam Data Solutions, and they basically do summary. This is where the data is coming from. Ultimately, in the end, I mean, you can take a look at. They say about 1.5 million homes are vacant across the U.S., representing about 1.6% of all the homes. So out of that 1.5 million, only a small percentage, I guess you could say 3.7% of homes in the foreclosure process are sitting empty as zombie foreclosures. So again, our foreclosure counts are down. Why? Because we're not foreclosing on people and we're not processing new foreclosures. So I want to make sure people understand that, all these non-payments and delinquencies are stacking up, and they're growing and they're bubbling and they're surging. Just right now, they're in this, I guess you say, status of unavailability because nothing's happening with them until moratoriums are lifted and until states lift their local moratoriums, federal government lifts their main moratorium. The feds extended theirs till the 31st of December, so that's going to keep people in their homes for a bit longer. And also, the concept is, why would the lenders pursue foreclosure actions and spend the money to do that now? Because they can't foreclose on it anyway, right? So everything's kind of in limbo, so to speak. But just know that there's about almost 8,000 of these zombie homes across the country. I know, again, I believe that's an underestimate. I think there's actually considerably more. It's just a very difficult thing to track. So, basically, abandoned homes in foreclosure remain little more than a spot on the radar screen. Simple as that. They throw a potential red flag in the air given the increase in the percentage of zombie foreclosures, said Todd Tita, who's Chief Product Officer with Adam Data Solutions. And what do we else got? What do we got here now? Midwest and South have the highest zombie foreclosure rates. So, for whatever reason, I mean, I look at the South as we certainly have them here. States where the zombie foreclosure rates exceeding the national percentage are clustered in the Midwest and the South, including Kansas, 15%. And these are zombie homes in the foreclosure process. So out of all the homes in Kansas, 15% of them are zombies. Missouri, 11.2%. Georgia, 11%. Kentucky, almost 11%. Tennessee, 10.3%. And then you've got locations where all these zombie homes are in the lowest levels compared nationally, which is Utah, Idaho, New Jersey, Colorado, and California. Now, I can see Utah, Idaho, Colorado, reason being because people are buying homes there. Jersey is the one that surprised me, just because of Jersey on the other side is a high per capita number of foreclosures. So either people are selling them or people are remaining in them as they go through the foreclosure process. So that's kind of an interesting concept to see that. Zombie rates rise in all but one state. So zombie foreclosure rates rose from the second to third quarter in every state but Hawaii, while also decreasing in the state, District of Columbia. States with the largest increases include Kansas, Missouri, Georgia, Kentucky, as I mentioned, Nebraska. It appears that an increased number of vacant foreclosure properties may be an unintended consequence of the foreclosure moratoria put in place by the federal, state, and local governments. Vacant properties can contribute to neighborhood blight and becoming safety hazards, especially during a pandemic. So that's typically, the one thing people always focus on. They go, hey, an abandoned property, is basically an open, invitation for vandalism, squatting, whatever, infestation for pests, like whatever. You know what I mean? It's an eyesore in the neighborhood. It brings property values down. And, I suppose that can happen. Eventually, when the lenders sort of figure out the situation, what they do is they secure the property, they change the locks, they put what they call the chicken wire cage over any pools and drain the pools. They want people falling and drowning. They also will start cutting the grass, at least maintaining some sort of semblance of, reasonableness with the property. So, yeah, it does take a bit sometimes to catch on, but the lenders do go out of their way to make sure that it's their asset now. If the homeowners walked away, they want to protect the asset and not have more damage. So when it goes through the foreclosure process, it's either selling at the auction or they're going to sell it as an REO or move it after the fact. All right, highest number of zombie properties in northeastern and midwestern states. New York continues to have the highest number of actual zombie properties, over 2,000, followed by where I am in Florida, Illinois, Ohio, and New Jersey. So again, this doesn't surprise me. California leads in the west, Oklahoma leads in the south. All right. So again, I know that in our county where I live, I can drive by and see tons of them. So again, I just think these numbers are reasonable numbers. I just think that they're probably underestimated just because of the difficulty to actually be on top of this 100% of the time. Northeast and Midwest have highest ratios of zombie foreclosure properties as a portion of all residential properties. So states with the highest ratios are concentrated in Northeast and Midwest, including New York, Illinois, Ohio, Florida, and New Jersey, which we kind of know. States with the lowest concentrations are Idaho, Arkansas, Texas, and Virginia. So that's interesting how that works out the ratio-wise. So just some of these high-level findings, and again, they're basically sort of slicing and dicing the numbers here to give us information. Among the 158 metropolitan areas with at least 100,000 people, the highest zombie foreclosure rates included Peoria, Illinois, Wichita, Kansas, Kansas City, Missouri, Omaha, Nebraska, and Cleveland, Ohio. Among major metros with over 500,000 residential properties, the lowest zombie foreclosure rates are in Austin, Texas, San Francisco, Philadelphia, and Los Angeles, and Charlotte, North Carolina. And that could be just because of, number one, the way the foreclosure process works. So, and I think that's number one. That's probably how those numbers play out, because if they're not pursuing those states typically have shorter foreclosure timeframes. So therefore, they file sooner and stuff gets sold sooner. So there's not enough time for them to actually put them in the foreclosure category. Top zombie foreclosure rates in counties with at least 500 properties in foreclosure includes Cuyahoga County, Cleveland. I hope I said that right. Broome County in New York. Onondaga County in New York. Pinellas County, Clearwater. That's next across the bay from me. And Summit County, Akron, Ohio. As you can see, that there are some zip codes that have a significant amount of them, and they're in Cleveland, Peoria, Illinois, and Watertown, New York. Highest level of vacant investor-owned homes are in Indiana, Kansas, and Ohio, Mississippi. Now, Rhode Island as well too. When you talk about investor-owned homes, why are they vacant? It could be residential, these are probably rental homes, right? So we're probably looking at, could there be non-payments? Could there be evictions? Could there be other reasons they bought them, they haven't fixed them yet, or they haven't bothered to put people in because of the pandemic? There's a lot of reasons why, but when I see that, Indiana 8.5%, people will comment and say, well, have you ever been to Indiana? And some of the locations there are pretty rough. And I'm like, yes, I have. And I can see that. So there's probably local economies are playing into that number as well, too. All right. So top 10 U.S. zip codes with the highest zombie foreclosure rates in Q3. You can see Cleveland, Peoria, Illinois, Watertown, New York, Cleveland, Gloversville, New York, Dalton, Illinois, Jamestown, New York. So really, I guess you could say the highest zombie foreclosure rates are concentrated pretty much in Ohio, Cleveland primarily, Peoria, Dalton, and then some locations in New York. So clearly something is going on in those locations with respect to industry, economy, whatever. So that's going to lead to having these zombie foreclosures. People are leaving to moving on to better pastures. And I look at it going, like right now, because of what's happening in the marketplace, if you're facing foreclosure and you're not still in your property with the moratoriums going on, then clearly you've probably found work someplace else, or have moved in with someone else, etc. Like, I guess you've gone on to better things, hopefully, because why not just stay in that property as long as you can? All right. Basically, as I mentioned here, the vacant property and zombie foreclosure analysis reports the states with the highest level of vacant investor-owned homes: Indiana, Kansas, Ohio, Rhode Island, and Mississippi. So clearly something going on there. We've talked about that, but just I think it's interesting that investors are getting hit hard in those locations. They own the home, and that's again. It just is interesting to see what's going on there. I guess that's my point. So, all right, let's go to the next slide here. So really, it's kind of like, so how do you get involved with these things here? So I talk about the statistics, which is fine. So we know that foreclosures will be stacking, and they're, as I said, they're sort of behind the scenes building. All these people that have had foreclosure sales postponed, they'll be reset once the moratorium's off. All the people that are in the foreclosure process that are kind of in limbo because the courts aren't pursuing, the lenders aren't pursuing, those will come shortly too, and consequently we'll probably see the proportional drag in the zombie foreclosures. So what basically is the availability for you here is that you want to focus on the pre-foreclosures. All right. So abandoned homes are an opportunity because homeowners have walked away. So as I mentioned a few minutes ago, something has changed in their lives where they felt that they should just leave the property and go on to bigger and better things, whatever, and that's fine. So these are properties waiting there for buyers. And the sad thing about it is when we're in these situations where we have lack of inventory and prices are rising, then you've got these homes sitting there. Now, granted, 8,000 to 10,000 homes across the U.S. is not going to make a huge impact on average price points or median price points and Case-Shiller numbers and things like that. Okay, it's a blip in the radar. We all know that, but it's going to help some communities. It's going to help some buyers. It's going to help some people out there, and that I think is sort of like the sad part about this is all these properties are waiting for buyers. Eventually, they will be foreclosed on. Now, I want to be clear here as well. And I don't really talk about this too much, but I'm going to start to get involved in this and talk more about what's going to happen in the future. So I see a lot of the thumbnails out there and what people are predicting for, housing, market 2020, housing crash 2021, whatever. And I don't even watch videos, but I'm betting a lot of them are missing the mark on this. These homes will eventually be foreclosed on. Now, all these foreclosures may not come back on the market for a couple of reasons. Number one, because they're going to be purchased by other people at the auction. So the average homeowner person, the average Joe, normies, whatever you want to call ourselves here, that want to buy a property, if you're not buying cash, that means you're going to buy with financing, which means you're not able to buy at the auction. And there's always inherent risks at buying at the auction. So these homes are going to either go to third-party bidders who will either make them rentals or fix and flip, put them back on the market at higher price points. Or the lenders will hold them and try to pawn them off and do pool buys, like non-performing assets, or have their own, we'll call online auction platforms, behind the scenes trying to sell this type of stuff. These will not come on the marketplace. The majority of these will never come on the marketplace. We won't see them. We won't be able to participate in possibly being a purchaser for these properties. So that's the whole idea. So you want to find the homeowner, get in front of the foreclosure, and then do what's called a short sale. And this basically is the best opportunity because the homes are vacant. You don't have to deal with people and the sellers. You just have to have the seller cooperate with you and find the homeowner, run the benefits, leverage all these issues of the zombie, damaged, not taken care of property for discounts from the lender. All right, because in truth, the lender should sell this before it goes to foreclosure if there's a decent offer on it. So that's the availability here. So, what do we need to do? We need to find the owner. You can look in public records. You can skip trace. The internet's very powerful. You can look at social media, Facebook, etc. So, go to the property appraiser. Go to, all the free phone lookups and try to find people. You can pay for skip tracing services, and they're not that expensive, 10, 15, 20 bucks per proper skip tracing. You can go on social media and try to send messages. If you get them to engage, then you have an opportunity to work with them. You perform a short sale, helps them avoid the foreclosure. There's other benefits to the homeowner that I can, I talk about in my training courses, of course, etc. But the whole idea is that a short sale is a settlement of debt as opposed to a judgment and a foreclosure. And it's 99.9% of the time, it's much better to settle the debt as opposed to having a judgment to pursue you, which they're doing now. All right. You as the buyer you get a new house. So if it's a primary residence that you want to live in, you get a new house. Maybe you got to do a little cleanup, some fix up, but it's a new house. You should be getting it for less than market value. Or if you're on the investment side, you're looking for additional income if you're renting it, or you're working a fix and flip and making money when you sell it. So really, these are all opportunities that are sitting there. The key is to actually just motivate yourself, find out a bit of information, try to pursue the owners and see if they'll are willing to work, because they got nothing to lose. They've already walked away. You may have to do a couple of things to make it more beneficial for the homeowner, but the point is, it's an opportunity to control a deal that everybody else isn't going after. All right, so that's the whole thing. The more effort you put into it, I look at it going, the masses won't go after this. The hedge funds don't go after these. They wait for the foreclosure sales. Real estate agents don't go after these homes. Most real estate investors don't go after these homes. So they're sitting there waiting for opportunities and for people to actually just find out, connect with the seller, get a deal done. So there really is some great stuff here. You can again find your new house, make some money, build a rental portfolio, whatever you want to do with these homes. It's an opportunity. But these are only going to grow, guys. Okay, so as the foreclosures start to come through the marketplace, the amount of zombie foreclosures will increase at the same time. All right. So having said that, again, just to remind people that later on today, we'll be doing my Facebook Live tonight, and we're going to go at looking at the high number of mortgage delinquencies and a ton of metro markets across the country and how that's going to reflect on the housing crash. So I want to jump on that. I appreciate you attending. It'll be very interesting. We'll have some Q&A afterwards as well. If you, first of all, I also appreciate the views, likes, and comments. If you want more information on, like I talk about short sale training and distressed property, reach out to me. There's my email. We'll connect. A number of people have jumped on my short sale cash connection course, which I appreciate, and they're preparing for this next wave of properties. And that's what I'm saying to them, saying this is the first available stuff you can go after are these vacant zombie properties. All right, guys, take care. We'll look forward to doing some more videos as the week goes on. Bye-bye.